My name is Sophia. I am 30 years old. I live in a small, quiet town. People think my life is perfect. I have a kind husband. We live in a small but clean apartment. I have a job at the local supermarket. My neighbors often smile at me, but they don't know the truth. They don't know what I feel inside. Every day, I wake up with a heavy heart. Every night, I go to sleep with a quiet tear. 1 year ago, I made a mistake. I married a man named Daniel. He is 35 years old. Daniel is a very good man. He wakes up early and makes coffee for me. He brings flowers on Fridays. He writes kind notes and hides them in my lunch bag. He calls me my sunshine and kisses my forehead. He loves me, but I do not love him. I try to be kind to him. I say thank you. I smile when I should, but my heart feels empty. I married Daniel because I was heartbroken. Before him, I was with another man. His name was Mark. He was my first love. Mark left me one cold winter. He said he was not ready for love, but I loved him deeply. When he left, I felt lost. I cried for many weeks. I could not eat. I could not sleep. My heart felt broken. That was when Daniel came into my life. He was kind. He listened. He smiled often. He never asked too many questions. One evening he said, "Sophia, you are special. I want to make you happy." I was still sad, but I said yes. I said yes to dinner. I said yes to his help. And one day, I said yes to his marriage proposal. I thought, maybe love will come later. Maybe my heart will heal. Maybe he will make me happy. But I was wrong. Now, every day, I pretend. I pretend to be the woman he needs. But I know I am not. One evening, Daniel made my favorite dinner. He cooked pasta and garlic bread. He lit candles. He played soft music. He wore the blue shirt I liked. He looked at me and said, "You are my everything." I smiled, but inside, I felt cold. After dinner, he said, "Let's go for a walk." We walked to the park near our home. It was quiet. The sky was full of stars. We stopped under a big tree. It was the same place where he asked me to marry him. Daniel held my hand and said, "I still remember that day. You said yes. It was the best day of my life." I looked at him. He looked so happy, so full of love, and I felt so empty. I wanted to say the truth. I never loved you, but I stayed silent. That night, I could not sleep. I stared at the ceiling. My chest felt heavy. My eyes were tired from holding back tears. The next morning, I went to work. I smiled at customers. I scanned groceries. I made small talk. But I felt like I was not real, like I was acting in someone else's life. like I was living a story that was not mine. After work, I came home. Daniel greeted me with a kiss. He asked, "How was your day?" I said, "It was fine," and I smiled again. That evening, I talked to my best friend. Her name is Mia. We sat in a small cafe near the lake. She looked at me and said, "Sophia, you look tired. Is everything okay?" I took a deep breath. I looked down at my hands. Then I said, "I don't love him, Mia. I never did." Mia was quiet. Then she said, "Sophia, then why did you marry him?" "I was broken," I said. "Mark left me. I didn't want to be alone. Daniel was kind. I thought it would be enough." Mia touched my hand. "You deserve to be happy," she said. "And so does he." I nodded, but inside I felt more confused. Was it too late? Did I ruin both our lives? That weekend, Daniel planned something special. He bought 2 movie tickets. He said, "Let's go out tonight. I want to see you smile again." I didn't want to go, but I said yes. I always said yes. I wore a nice dress. I brushed my hair. I put on red lipstick. I looked beautiful on the outside, but inside, I felt nothing. At the movie theater, Daniel held my hand. He laughed during the film. He looked at me often. I tried to smile. After the movie, he said, "That was fun, right?" I said, "Yes." But I was not happy. That night we sat on the couch. He made tea for both of us. He put his arm around me and whispered, "I missed you, Sophia." I looked away. I could not answer. In my heart, I was screaming, "Please stop. Please let me go." But I stayed quiet again. The next morning, Daniel cooked breakfast. He made eggs and toast. He smiled and said, "Let's have a good day today." I looked at him. He was trying so hard, and I was breaking a little more each day. I went to the bedroom and closed the door. I sat on the bed and cried. I took my journal and wrote, "I am living a life that doesn't belong to me. Daniel is a good man, but I am not the right wife for him. Every time I smile, it's a lie." I closed the journal. I looked in the mirror. I saw a tired face, a sad woman, a woman full of guilt. That night I stood by the window. I looked at the street. Children were laughing. A dog was running. The sun was setting. The world was alive. But I felt stuck. I felt frozen in a place I didn't want to be. Then Daniel walked in. He held a small box in his hand. He said, "I have a surprise." He gave me the box. Inside was a necklace with a small gold heart. He said, "This is my heart. It's yours." I wanted to cry, but I smiled and said, "Thank you." I put the necklace on the table. Later that night, I sat alone in the dark. I whispered to myself, I cannot live like this forever. Before I share the rest of my story, I need to know, where are you listening from? Knowing someone hears me, understands me, gives me strength. The next morning, Daniel was in the kitchen early. He made pancakes and coffee. When I walked in, he smiled and said, "Good morning, my love." I smiled back, but it was small, weak. I sat down at the table. He placed a plate in front of me and poured the coffee gently. His every move was kind, thoughtful, and that made it harder. I didn't want to hurt him, but I couldn't keep pretending. That afternoon, I called Mia again. "Mia, I feel stuck," I said quietly. "Every morning I want to leave. Every night, I stop myself." Mia didn't speak for a few seconds. Then she said, "Sophia, sometimes love doesn't come later. Sometimes it never comes. And that's okay. But you can't live in a lie." I knew she was right. But saying the truth to Daniel, that scared me more than anything. Later that week, Daniel came home with a soft look in his eyes. He sat beside me on the sofa and held my hand. "Sophia," he said, "can I ask you something?" I turned to him, nervous. "Yes?" He looked down, then back at me. "Do you want to have a baby?" My heart stopped for a moment. He continued, "I think maybe it will bring us closer. Maybe it will help us grow together." I didn't know what to say. A baby? With a man I didn't love? I looked away. My throat felt dry. "I'm not ready," I whispered. He nodded slowly. "Okay," he said softly. "I understand." But I could see the pain in his eyes. He was hoping, still hoping, and I had nothing to give. That night, I wrote again in my journal, "A child won't fix this. It will only bring more sadness. I feel like I'm drowning in kindness. Daniel deserves love. I can't give it." The next few days were quiet. I spoke less. I moved slower. I felt like I was walking through heavy water. One Sunday evening, I packed a small bag. I folded a few clothes. I took my toothbrush, my phone charger, and my journal. Daniel was asleep in the bedroom. I stood at the front door, holding the bag. My hands were shaking. I looked back at him one last time. He was lying on the bed, peaceful, breathing softly. I couldn't do it. I put the bag down. I sat on the floor. I cried into my hands. I didn't want to hurt him, but I couldn't keep hurting myself either. The next morning, I tried to act normal. I got dressed. I went to work. I helped customers at the supermarket. I smiled at an old woman buying bread. I carried a heavy box for my manager. But inside, I was a storm. That evening, Daniel brought home a DVD. "Let's watch a movie tonight," he said. "Just us." I nodded. I didn't want to say no. We sat on the couch. He laughed during the funny parts. He kept looking at me, waiting for a smile. I tried, but it didn't feel real. After the movie, he held my hand. "I missed this," he said, "just being close to you." I didn't answer. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I stared at the ceiling, listening to the quiet sounds of the apartment, the fridge humming, a clock ticking, Daniel's soft breathing. The next day, I met Mia at the cafe near the lake. The sky was gray. The wind was cold. "You don't look well," Mia said. "You look tired." I nodded. "I feel like I'm in a small box with no door," I said. "I want to leave, but I'm scared. Everyone will say I'm selfish. They'll say I hurt a good man." Mia leaned closer. "Sophia, no one can live your life. If you're not happy, that is the truth. And Daniel deserves the truth too." Her words stayed with me. That night, I made tea for both of us. I placed the cups on the table. My hands were shaking. I sat down beside Daniel and looked at him. "I need to tell you something," I said. He looked at me. His eyes were calm, but I could see worry behind them. "Okay." I took a deep breath. "Daniel, I care about you. You are kind. You are good. But I don't love you. I never did." He didn't say anything. I kept going. "I married you because I was hurting. I thought love would come later. But it didn't." Daniel looked down at his hands. Then softly he said, "I knew." I looked at him, surprised. "You did?" "I saw it in your eyes, Sophia," he said. "I just didn't want to believe it." Tears filled my eyes. "I'm so sorry," I whispered. "I never wanted to hurt you." Daniel nodded slowly. "I love you. I really do. But I can't be the only one trying. If your heart isn't here, I can't hold you back." His words broke something inside me. He was still gentle, even in pain, even after hearing the truth. We sat in silence for a long time. No shouting, no anger, just sadness. A soft, quiet sadness that filled the room like smoke. That night, I slept on the couch. I stared at the wall, thinking, I told the truth? I finally told the truth. The next few days were strange. We still lived in the same apartment, but we barely spoke. I stayed in the small guest room. Daniel slept alone in our bedroom. In the mornings, he still made coffee. He still left a cup for me on the table. But now, there were no little notes, no flowers, no smiles, only silence. I went to work and tried to stay busy. I helped customers. I restocked shelves. I smiled when needed. But inside, I was always thinking. One afternoon, Mia came to see me. She gave me a long hug. "How are you doing?" she asked. "I'm okay," I said. "It's hard, but I feel more honest now." Mia smiled. That's a good start. What will you do next? I looked down. I think I need to leave, I said quietly. It's time. That evening, I sat down with Daniel. I think I should move out, I said. He nodded. He didn't look surprised. Do you have somewhere to go? Yes, I said. Mia offered me her guest room. Daniel looked at me for a moment. Then he said, I'm not angry. I'm just sad. But maybe this is the right thing. I felt tears in my eyes. You've always been good to me, I said. I never deserved you. He gave a small smile. I don't regret loving you, Sophia, even if it ends like this. His words stayed with me all night. The next morning, I started packing. I didn't take much. Just some clothes, my journal, and a few books. The apartment felt heavy with memories, even though we had only lived there 1 year. Daniel helped carry my bag to the door. He looked at me one last time. Take care, Sophia, he said. Thank you, I said, for everything. Then I walked out. Mia was waiting in her car. She opened the door and smiled. Let's go. I got in. We drove away. I didn't look back. At Mia's apartment, I sat in the small guest room and cried. Not because I missed Daniel, but because everything felt heavy, sad, quiet, and also just a little lighter. For the first time, I had told the truth. I had taken a step forward. The days at Mia's place passed slowly. I woke up early, helped her cook, washed dishes, and sometimes sat quietly by the window. She never forced me to talk. She just let me be. Sometimes we watched movies together. Sometimes we ate ice cream on the sofa. And sometimes I just sat alone in the guest room thinking. I felt many things at once. Sadness, guilt, fear, but also peace. I had done something hard. I had told the truth. And even though my heart still felt heavy, it also felt honest. I started going for long walks near the lake. The fresh air helped me think. I watched people walking dogs, riding bikes, drinking coffee on benches. Life was moving. Slowly, I started to feel like I could move too. One day, I walked into a small cafe and saw a flyer on the wall. It said, Creative Writing Class. Every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Come and write your story. Something inside me whispered, try this. I signed up. The class was small, only 8 people. The teacher was a kind older woman named Mrs. Blake. She smiled often and said, your story matters, even if you whisper it. The first time I wrote, I felt nervous. My hands shook. I didn't know what to say, but slowly the words came. I wrote about my feelings, my past, my mistakes, and my quiet hopes. One night after class, I sat in my room with my notebook and wrote, I lost love before I even found it, but now I am finding myself. That sentence made me smile. A few weeks later, I got a message from Daniel. My phone buzzed while I was reading by the window. His name made my heart pause. Message said, "Hi, Sophia. I hope you're doing okay. I've started a cooking class. It helps me stay busy. No pressure to reply. Just wanted you to know I'm doing fine." I read it 3 times. Then I replied, "Hi, Daniel. Thank you for your message. I'm glad you're okay. I joined a writing class. It's helping me too. Wishing you peace and happiness." We didn't talk again, but it felt good to say goodbye in a kind way. A few months later, I found a small studio apartment not far from the supermarket. It wasn't big, but it was mine. I painted the walls light yellow. I put fresh flowers in a jar by the window. I hung a picture of the lake. Every morning, I made my own coffee. I sat by the window and watched the world outside. Sometimes I felt lonely, but I also felt free. I still thought about Daniel. I hoped he would find someone who truly loved him. He gave his heart fully. I hoped someone would give theirs to him in return. One day while cleaning, I found the necklace he gave me, the small gold heart. I held it in my hand for a long time. Then I wrote a short note. "Thank you for your kindness. I couldn't wear it, but I will never forget it." I placed the necklace and note in a small box. The next time I visited Mia, I left the box with her. "Can you give this back to him?" I asked. She nodded. "Of course." As the seasons changed, I changed too. I started smiling more. I laughed with the people in my writing class. I felt stronger when I spoke. I felt more like myself. One night, I looked in the mirror. I saw a woman with tired eyes but a soft smile. A woman who had been lost but was now walking her own path. I whispered to myself, "It's not a perfect story, but it's mine." I still had quiet days when I felt unsure. But now, I listened to my heart. I didn't silence it. I didn't hide from it. I knew I had made a mistake when I married Daniel without love. But I also knew I had grown. I had learned something important. Never marry just to heal pain. Never lie to your heart. If someone out there feels like I did, tired, unsure, stuck in a life that doesn't feel real, I want to say this: you are not alone. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to start again. Be honest. Be brave. Your heart knows the truth. Thank you for listening to my story. It's not full of smiles or happy endings, but it is real. And sometimes, being real is the bravest thing we can be. If you liked my story, please like, comment, and share. More simple and emotional stories are coming soon.